Go ahead. Ready? Okay. Hi guys, how are you? How are you today? Today's lesson is going to be about the concept of globalization. The class is Globalization, Culture, and Society. Please, Francisco. What we will learn today? Well, a brief history of globalization. We'll learn what is globalization and the impact of globalization in developing countries. I hope in this next 10 minutes we can do that. The next, please. Okay. The first is to, if you can let me know what do you know about globalization, and if we can explain it. Who wants to participate? What's globalization?
It's have information of the whole world, be able to get into the internet and see what's going on wherever we think of.
Okay, that's a good point. Who wants to participate? Lisa?
I think it is the way now we trade things, we buy and sell things not only in a local city or a town. We can do that kind of trading around the world. I can buy things from China, from any country of Europe, for example, and I can sell things there. So that's to the economical part.
That's right. Globalization is first of all, it's an economic idea. When we think about globalization, we think about the first thing we think is about trade and the free flow of people, investment, commerce, goods and benefits. The next, please, Francisco. Okay. What about globalization? The main issue about globalization is economic integration between the countries. And the economic integration has promoted a strong economic development in different countries, but not in all the countries has been the same impact, because not all the countries have been successful in the integration of the market liberalization and the trade liberalization. For instance, the US and in some countries in Europe have begun their integration economic 40 years ago, and some countries in Latin America now they're doing this agenda about the economic reformation. For instance, in the 90s, the globalizing countries grew at the rate of 5% per year per capita, and that allowed them to close the economic gap between their societies. The next, Francisco, please. Okay, but however, this is not a fairy tale, because not all the countries have been equal. For instance, the US have established some protectionist measures for their agricultural activities to protect, how do I say campesino in English? Farmers. Farmers, to protect their farmers for the imports from Mexico. Several studies have concluded that people worry about the impact of globalization. For instance, they say it will increase crime, will damage balance between countries, and it will have a negative impact in the environment and the local cultures. This is one of the main critics against globalization, because the big corporates go to the development countries and exploit the resources, natural resources and economic resources. The next question. Now we have a little history. For instance, all the authors, or the majority of the authors, convey that the first globalization was between these years, but some others, the few, talk about the first globalization was in the expansion of the navigation of European countries in the 15th and 16th centuries. So we can discuss about this, if the first globalization was in these centuries or in these years. Between these years, The second globalization was the result of the lower transportation costs with the train, with the trains. The countries made investment in trains, and the reduction in trade barriers, as well as increasing agricultural exports. Besides, the increase migration was even more impressive. In that time, 10% of the world population immigrate in response to changing economic conditions in their birthplace. The next, Francisco, please. This is a map of the world in the 15th centuries. Spain, France, England was the principal were the principal countries who expanded to another countries for America, Africa, and Asia. Thank you. The next. Okay. After the second globalization, there was a period of big protectionist measures and nationalism. Those conditions delayed globalization. Now, at least for the last 4 years, the trend towards globalization seems inevitable as it is now. The next, Francisco, please. This is the third globalization. Between 1950 and the 1980, Europe, North America, and Japan established trade relationships. I was talking about this at the beginning of my speech. And today's globalization, the fourth globalization, began around 1980, and rich countries considered developing, like Mexico, China, Hungary, Brazil, and India. Nowadays, China is considered a big economic country. And around this year, as a result of globalization of these countries, these countries grew from 25% to more than 80% in their exportation, manufacturing and exportation products. The next, Francisco, please. What is the problem about globalization in Latin America? The main issue is education. Not all the countries has the same indicators, or have a very different indicators in access to education. So, pro-globalization people or authors, they say if a country doesn't invest in education, it is impossible for globalization to have a positive impact in their economy. And they resume in this phrase: globalization by itself does not solve the problem for wages, for that countries should invest in education. Next, Francisco, please. So the great debate about globalization is about its ability to reduce poverty. There are some examples, positive examples. China, in China the poor population in 1978 was 250 million, and in 1990 was barely 35 million people. Next, Francisco. So there are 3 reasons that explains why some countries don't have a positive benefits from globalization. Number 1 is state policies and inadequate infrastructure, geographical and climatic disadvantage, and other countries are far ahead in globalization. US, Europe, Japan. Next, Francisco. Next one, please. So I share with you as a final activity of the lessons, today's lessons, these 3 questions. Please take note and try to respond individually, please. And homework is going to be a 3-minute record video. So you individually explain what is globalization, talk about the history of globalization. Thank you. Okay.